What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this very, very special video here on the Lopes Goes Last podcast channel. This is probably the biggest, longest, and possibly the most fun video that I have ever done on this channel for a multitude of reasons, but most of all, it is because Max McCoig and Chase Burke, two very, very good friends of both the man and of the channel, joined me in putting this project together, so thank you so much to those guys. In fact, I liked it so much, I'm inviting them back again to do something very similar to this very, very soon, so hopefully that's going to get recorded here in the next few days. But for those of you who did not read the title of this video or just don't really know what it means, like I said, Max McCoig and Chase Burke have joined me, as well as Ben Fair, who made a guest appearance, not necessarily for the draft, but just to tell some stories in the middle there, so hopefully you guys enjoy all that. But those three wonderful gentlemen joined me to bring this whole video together. Max and Burke and myself did an all-time MLB draft. Now, what that means is we selected from a large pool of MLB players, and by large pool, I mean, well, everyone ever. And we decided to pick who, in our opinion, is the best player at every position all time, obviously based on who is available at the time. Now, everybody is probably going to have the same GOATs at every position, or at least similar in most positions, but for this, we decided to make it whose team is going to be better. So we did a snake draft, and we drafted basically whomever we wanted for our team, and it was just so much fun. I mean, you know, there are moments where we are all in agreement on who everybody picked, and we all think, man, that's such a great pick. I wish I could have picked him. And then there are moments where we just have to scratch our heads and go, what the heck are you doing? And based on who is on this channel, I think we all know who made those decisions. But no, I'm just kidding around. We all made some choices, I'm sure, that we would have probably gone in other directions or liked to. But either way, that's the fun of it, right? I mean, we just had an absolute blast doing it. Now, I do have to give some unfortunate news that is going to directly affect this video and possibly even upcoming ones as well. So I actually made a joke about this, Burke and I did, that the last time he was on the channel, part of the video was corrupted. And by part, I actually mean the entire thing was corrupted the last time he went on. And so that got lost to the ether and we will never get that back. And unfortunately, luckily this time, not the entire thing, only about, I'd say, a quarter to a third of it got corrupted, but this time it was corrupted much worse than last time. Last time there was just an audio thing where the video should be, not sure how that worked, really don't know how it happened. I'd never even, you know, heard of that. Now this time, unfortunately, the video did get completely corrupted. Now I did everything I could to salvage the video, and I actually, mostly anyway, succeeded. But the problem is when I watch it back, I can't even watch it for 3 minutes because, you know, it's dark, everything just repeats over and over again, and then you miss key points of information that we're talking about. And so it's just, I couldn't do it. I couldn't post it. So what I unfortunately had to do to get you guys the logical conclusion to this is I had to do the audio file. I tried everything to do this video. I tried to fix it, and I'm not a tech wizard by any means, but I think I did a pretty darn good job of trying to fix this basically gone file, and I was able to recover most of it, but it's just not the same, and it's not good, and it's not a good listen. I mean, you guys would just turn it off instantly because I did, and I'm the one that was in it, and I'm the one that made it, so I have a lot of time invested in this thing, and plus, I'm the one that wants it to be out there more than anybody, and so when I can't watch 3 minutes of it, trust me, you guys wouldn't be able to either. So instead, I just had to give you the audio file. The audio file works just fine, and everything is there, and so you could still get everything that you need from that. Just unfortunately, you're just going to have to listen instead of watch. But hopefully that's all right with you guys, and hopefully you guys enjoy it nonetheless, because I'll tell you what, Max, Chase, and I had an absolute banger of a time. It was so much fun doing this, and again, I had so much fun that I'm inviting them back already to do another one, so it's going to be great, and hopefully you guys enjoy what is left of the video. By the way, before I get to the video, Stick around all the way to the end if you can. I know it's a long video, but stick all the way to the end if you can, because at the very end, I am going to be posting all 3 teams that we drafted, and I want you guys to vote in the comments section. Let me know who you think had the best draft. Did I have the best draft? Did Max have the best draft? Did Burke have the best draft? Which one of us drafted the best team in your guys' opinion? I'd love to hear your guys' opinion in the comments, so please stick around to the very end to get all of that information, because obviously we didn't put it on the screen or anything, so it's easy for people to lose track, because I know we lost track a couple times as to who had what. I know I personally made some dumb picks because I didn't realize that both of those guys, didn't have any pitcher slots left to choose, and so I kind of went and picked a guy that I didn't have to. But yeah, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know, again, we had such a blast, and again, I apologize for the technical difficulties towards the end, because there actually were some technical difficulties throughout the beginning, or throughout the middle of this too, that, I had to kind of edit around and figure out a way to make it look good. So, yeah, there was just technical difficulties abound all night, but we still had a blast, and hopefully you guys agree with it. And if you guys like this kind of stuff, which I hope you do because I know I do, please let me know. Please like the video. Please share it. Please, tell me in the comments that you want to see more stuff like this, and I'm going to be happy to provide it. So, all right, let's get on to the draft. Man, I'm excited. Hope you guys are too. Gentlemen, I am so excited to be doing this tonight. I know it's been kind of, not necessarily a long time coming, but it's been a long couple of weeks waiting for this to happen. I know we've all been very excited. How are you guys feeling? I'll start with Max going into this.
Feel good. I've been excited about this ever since you started this whole thing. One, I've just wanted to get on with Burke just because I love Burke, and it's always fun going back and forth with him, baseball wise, but also just doing drafts like this is a dream for me. So it's a blast.
Same here. I've done one of these, and I think we had some technical difficulties, so I've been waiting to get back
Yes.
on. So I saw Max and Coach Fairs, and I was like, having all of us there would have been because there's my side of some stories that we could tell. But how many times have we, in school when we get bored, write down an all-time team, but now, we can do that there and see, especially, growing and knowing the game more, being older. So, but yeah, I'm fired up.
For sure. And it's funny you mentioned that. I was going to say that right after you were done. Last time I had you on the channel, Berkey, I still had no idea what happened. It has not happened before. It hasn't happened since. I don't know what happened, but for those folks at home, I did probably an hour and a half, maybe even longer interview with Berkey here and Coach Bruce, who's also a good friend of the channel. And it was great. We had an awesome time. Excuse me. And I went to edit it, and the audio was there, but the video was completely corrupted. There was no way, you didn't see any of our faces. And it just, for YouTube, it would have just made no sense to post it. And so unfortunately that is lost to the ether, but all 3 of us are the only ones that know what happened during that, during that interview. So either way, it was a good time. I really, really had a lot of fun. So, but hopefully that will not happen here. Because for those of you folks at home, you should have seen the intro, and obviously you'll see the title of this beforehand, but just in case you don't know, we're doing an all-time fantasy draft today. The 3 of us is going to be a great time. We are picking our all-time favorite teams. Well, not necessarily our favorite teams, but we're going to take a pool of the best players in MLB history at every position, and we are basically going to draft a team. It's going to be 1 player per position for every position player. So obviously, you're 2 through 9. We're going to have 2 starters for each team, 2 relievers for each team, including a designated hitter, by the way. And we're each going to have 30 seconds in between picks to kind of make our picks. Now, I don't have a stopwatch here, so I guess we're just going to kind of have to feel it out and see, hey man, let's go. Let's wrap it up. Let's make your pick. And it's going to be a great time. So we talked before we got here. Max was the winner. He got the number 1 pick in the draft. I got number 2. Burke got number 3. It will be a snake style draft. So what that means, for those of you guys who do not know what that means, is Max will obviously get the first pick, as I said. Then it'll be me, and then it'll be Burke. And then the second round will start with Burke making another pick. So he'll have 2 consecutive picks. Then it'll be my pick again, and then Max. And then third round, Max will have a pick. So Max will then have 2 picks. So they honestly have a real nice advantage, the 2 of them, because they get 2 picks in a row every round. And we're just going to go until our teams are done. We'll see how long it takes, but I'm hoping that, we'll have some Discord that doesn't count for the 30 seconds between picks. We'll be able to chat and, talk about the picks, talk about stats, maybe if we have that pulled up, or, give each other crap for terrible picks or what have you, or give each other praise for great picks, whatever it is. So we'll kind of feel it out and see how it goes, but I'm really, really excited. And I know that you guys are. Is there anything that you guys want to tell the people at home? Anything that you guys want to talk about before we jump in? Because again, I know you guys are super excited.
I'm ready to go, baby.
Yeah, let's roll.
All right. Then in that case, Max, you are on the clock. I know that I'm pretty sure I know who you're picking here, but why don't you go ahead and tell the people at home who your number 1 pick is?
Mark them off the board, boys. First pick of the draft. I'm going the best offensive baseball player to ever walk the planet. My left fielder, Mr. Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds, yeah. So that is unfortunate because as I know that, and I feel like Max got some inside information there.
Well, he knew who I would pick if I was the first pick. So
yeah,
I mean,
same here. So are we all in Let's talk about that for a second before we move on to my pick. Are we all in universal agreement there? Barry Bonds, greatest baseball player of all time.
It does. When you take away 7 MVP seasons and he's still a 300 guy, and it's like, and then you think, wait, 7 MVPs? It's like, and then
for those of you at home, no one in MLB history has won more than 3. Barry Bonds won 7. So that's, or maybe 4. It might be 4, but either way, he's lapped the field either way with MVPs. Just unbelievable. Now we can talk all we want about the steroids and everything like that, but obviously for the 3 of us here, it doesn't matter. He's the greatest baseball player to ever walk the earth, as far as I'm concerned, as far as you guys are concerned. So that's a great pick there, Max, obviously. In that case, so what I'm going to do, so as you guys kind of know, there's a little bit of positional value with a lot of these guys. And I know that Mr. Berkey's going to be very, very mad at me right here. And I know I'm talking a little bit, but I promise I'm going to make my pick. Gentlemen, would you like to tell me who has the highest OPS of every shortstop in history who's played at least 500 games at the position?
Are you going A-Rod?
Answer my question.
Yeah, dude. Because it's A-Rod.
And do you know who has the highest OPS of every third baseman in history who has played more than 500 games at the position? That is Alex Rodriguez. And even though I cannot stand the guy, and I hope he never gets into the Hall of Fame,
that's a great pick.
Stats speak for themselves. And he's my shortstop, by the way. He should be eligible to play shortstop.
Oh, yeah.
As he played, 8 seasons at shortstop before he went to the Yankees, something like that.
I had him on my board for both positions, so that's all fair.
So Alex Rodriguez is my pick at number 2. I definitely would not pick him number 2 if I was just picking the greatest players of all time. To me, it's not even remotely close. But positional value-wise, I've got to go A-Rod here. Get the best hitting shortstop in history.
All righty. So for the third pick, now that I have 2 back-to-back, I'm going Mr. Strikeout, greatest pitcher of all time, in my opinion, Mr. Nolan Ryan.
Good pick.
Can't hit what you can't see, boys.
That is true.
All right, so back-to-back, I'm going to go offense.
Makes sense.
Not too much of a power threat, but one of the greatest hitters of all time. If not, if not the greatest. I'm gonna go Pete Rose.
Pete Rose at number 4. Wow.
Oh,
I am surprised. That is a great pick, though. Okay. I really like that. That's awesome. Okay. Well, I'm not going to be horrible and take a catcher here because I feel like that's lame because then we're just going all positional value. I'm not going to do that. Based on the look that Max just gave me, he might be going catcher with his next pick, but that's fine. You go ahead and you do that, man. Well, I am going to also take a pitcher here. And in my opinion, when you talk about the GOATs of pitching, Nolan Ryan is up there and Greg Maddux is up there for sure. But for me, this is going to be my one homer pick. Pedro Martinez had the greatest prime of any pitcher in history. Had a 2.19 ERA plus in 1999 and 2000, which for those of you who do not know what that means he was double as effective in preventing runs as any pitcher in the league at that time. And they kind of put it as like an all-time thing. That's like an overarching stat where people from different eras can kind of compare themselves to one another. He has the highest ERA plus in his prime of all time. Pedro Martinez is my pick.
As me and Max both marked it off our list. So, so yeah, good pick.
that's a great pick. And I'm switching it up. I was going to go offense here. I'm back to back. Yeah. Finish the second round, start the third. Yeah, to finish the second round, I'm going pitcher. I'm going Greg Maddux. Little bit of homer pick, but I mean, ask a guy to put it where you want it. He puts it there. Greg Maddux is my ace. We're going to roll with that. And then I'm going to follow that to start round 3 because I'm afraid of what's going to happen. And I need a flamethrower. And Randy Johnson is coming to my team as well to start round 3. And I'm going to just lock down the 1-2 punch in my rotation. I got a soft, crafty, put it wherever you want it, paint job. And then I've got Mr. I Kill Birds for a living.
One of the most insane things ever.
So now that it's my pick, I have to say, in preparing for this, I was very worried about outfield initially, but then I realized that outfield is so deep.
Yeah.
It is so deep. So instead, I am probably going to break Max's heart here. I am taking Chipper Jones.
No.
I am. I'm taking Chipper. And look, we talk about, you still have Eddie Matthews on the board, Max, if you need to go a homer pick. But I don't know about you guys. I don't know much about Mike Schmidt. I was a little bit too young. Obviously, you guys are a similar age to me, so we're a little too young to see George Brett play. But we all grew up watching Chipper Jones, and that guy was just beautiful. He just played a beautiful game of baseball, and I gotta have him. I think he's the greatest third baseman of all time, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah, that's tough.
I feel good about my draft because I'm getting a lot of craps from you guys, so that's good. I like it.
I wanted Pedro and Maddux, and then you took Pedro, and now you took Chipper.
So I'm going back to back here. My first pick, I was gonna go offense, but I think I'm gonna switch it up and do what Max did. I'm going locking down my starting pitching, Roger Clemens.
That's a good pick.
Oh yeah, that was my next pick, you maniac. Attaboy. Great.
Yeah, I know where you're going next.
Mr. Clemens. And
Hold on. I know where you're going. I'm writing it down because I want to be right. Go.
And then if I have, Nolan Ryan going 8 innings.
Yeah.
And I have Roger Clemens going 8 innings.
I know who yeah.
What does that leave? 1 inning. I'm going Mr. Mariano Rivera as one of my relief pitchers.
Yep.
That's a great pick.
That's a great pick. Yep.
Not scoring on me, boys.
Yep, that's fair.
Or any one of us, really.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, well, I was gonna take Clemens or Rivera with my next pick, and you took both, so that's fine. That is the pain of having the number 2 pick. Is even your plan B can go awry if you don't take him, so that's fine. So in that case, I am going to have to bank on the fact that Max is not going to take the guy who I want here, because I have to get a reliever, because now that Mariano's gone, that position really falls off. So for this next pick, it's not going to be who you guys probably think. I'm going Eric Gagne with this pick here.
Ooh.
For those of you who did not watch Eric Gagne in his prime, now look, I'm a Red Sox fan. If anybody knows anything about Eric Gagne not in his prime, it is me, because I saw us trade for Eric Gagne and then him have like a 9 ERA in 80 games or something, like just atrocious. But Eric Gagne was the first, maybe not the first, but one of the first guys to come out in the ninth and just start pumping 100 miles an hour. You couldn't touch him. His changeup was disgusting. His curveball just buckled you. He was unbelievable. For those of you guys who've forgotten how good Eric Gagne was in his prime, that's how much I think of him. Eric Gagne.
That's a great pick. Okay. So the thing with relievers is like Mo and then it drops off, but I feel like there's two. There's Gagne and then the guy that I'm going to pick. And then you kind of like got your pick. And it's like you can't go wrong with the second one. But if I'm picking Trevor Hoffman.
Beautiful pick. That's a great
pick.
pick.
I've let him go and then had to go on 2 of the guys that you can't really go wrong with. And then one of you have 2 of the top 3. I think I would have been hurting. So I'm going to go Hoffman there. And then this did not go like I thought it was going to go. No catchers have gone. I'm going to go with my next pick. I'm taking my center fielder. No, I'm not. I'm taking my shortstop, Cal Ripken Jr.
Wow. Okay.
The speed pick. I don't want to talk about it.
What? What? Did you not like it that much that you just were like, I know it sucks. I don't want it. I don't care. You do know that Honus Wagner's on the board, right, Max?
I know.
You do. This is greatest of all time, not most games played. Like this is, you could have taken Honus Wagner. It's okay.
Okay. I'm riding with Cal.
Okay.
He's going to be there. He's going to play.
We're riding. He's helping. He's durable. Let's go.
Yeah. Hey, fair enough. All right.
Well,
luckily, Max, you did not take who I wanted here. I've already got Pedro. I've got Eric Gagne coming in, but I need another starter that's going to solidify. And no one in my mind is better for this team than Bob Gibson.
Yeah.
On Bob Gibson. His 1968, he had a 1.12 ERA. As far as to my memory and to my knowledge, post dead ball era, that is the best year any pitcher has ever had in terms of preventing runs. So tough to argue.
You could have waited. Me and Berkey both are done with starters.
That is fair. I could have waited, but you know what? It is what it is. We're going to go with it here, and we'll hope that Burke doesn't take everybody I love.
All right. So I'm back to back here. Let's go. Oh, I had it, and then I think I wanted to change my mind. No, I'm going Mickey Mantle.
That's a good pick.
Good pick.
First center fielder.
As my center fielder. And then I'm going to turn right around. And I need some power. I'm lacking some power. So I'm going to go Albert Pujols as my first baseman.
Oh, attaboy. Good pick.
That's a good pick.
Albert, first baseman off the board. Now, obviously, this isn't conducive to who we think is the greatest of all time. It's just kind of how the board fell. But are we putting Albert Pujols up that high?
I mean, you got to think. I I think for some and I was going through this, I was like, there's a lot of very good first basemen, but there's not a lot of just stars that have played first base, because they've either played first and DH'd a little bit, but there's just not a lot of them. In my opinion, I just don't.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of first basemen
that's
that
fair.
are just. So Albert's one of the greatest in my mind.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I completely agree. I have backups because I always plan, but I did not plan on anybody else thinking that he was that high. So
Yeah.
I think that's really a good pick there, Berkey.
Yeah, we all got to see that too. Like we got to see. Yeah, I mean
The whole thing.
the whole thing.
Burkey, can you take that hat off, man?
No, I'm wearing my shame.
You
We just finished April in last place.
Well, in case you guys at home didn't realize, Coach Fair has joined us. So we're going to take a little bit of a break here and from our draft, I should say. And the reason is because we talked a little bit offhand. So I know out of the four of us, I am the only one left in the dark as to what's going on here. But these three guys have some kind of story that they want to share. So I don't know who wants to start, but I'm just going to let these guys take over, tell the story that they need to tell. Because again, I'm completely in the dark. I have no idea what's going on. So I'd love to hear what's going on here and be on board. So
Max, you started it.
Yeah. So there was a warm May evening in Knoxville, Tennessee, senior night. Fellas, we all played together. We played for Coach Fair. Folks at home, if you don't know, we all played for the Royals of Johnson University. Go Royals, baby. And senior night, the number 10 at the time, Hiwassee Tigers rolled into town. And I mean, that was a good ball club. Loved playing Hiwassee. It was always fun playing them, back and forth always. And we played. And Hiwassee went up early. They went up big. It was 8-2, I believe.
Yeah, I think
something like
about
that.
right.
8-2, and then Coach Fair put me into pitch, and I kind of looked at Berkey, and we just kind of like nodded, and we just kind of had this undisclosed notion that, hey, I don't know if at like this, it was early, third, fourth inning. I don't know if we're gonna come back and win this game, but I promise you they're not gonna score again. And so Berkey and I mean, we went at it. We do what we do, and I never had to shake off Berkey my whole time throwing to him, which was a blast. Ended up, game becomes close, and it's late innings. I'll let some of them. I'll let Coach and Berkey talk about the in between.
So
our talk is the top of the ninth. Maybe a runner on, maybe two runners on. We're up 2 at this point. We ended up coming back. I'll let them talk about it. Berkey comes out and he goes, "Well, what are we doing?" 2 outs in the top of the ninth, and I was like, I'll leave a few words that Berkey and I said to each other out of it, but so many words and said send them home unhappy tonight, Berkey. And push comes to shove. I fanned the last dude. He said, "What do you want to throw?" I said, "I want to throw a slider at his back foot, and I hope it hits him," and he swings over it. Sure enough, I threw a slider at his back foot, and he swung over top of it, and we go home happy, fellas. Looking at, I mean, the three of you, but just being able to talk and just reminisce, and people say glory days or whatever it is. I have never had more fun on a baseball field than that night. I think May 24th, 2018, I believe it was, and I'll never forget it.
So I'll start, earlier that night, we get down and Chase White started the game. Did Chase White start the game? Chase White started the game. I think we had a couple of errors or something, and they went up. Of course, Hiwassee, I think they hit Heisey hit a home run, 3-run homer. And I can't remember what the call was, but remember Shane got thrown out that game.
I'm going to tell you what
the call went his way, and he got thrown out.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and he comes out with his Coke, and he's throwing Coke everywhere, and he's hollering, and I'm standing there with somebody, and I'm like, the call went their way.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like that was kind of it kind of flipped. It kind of, they kind of were just like, what the heck's going on? And then I remember, because if y'all remember correctly, I think 3 games before I tweaked my hamstring. My hamstring was messed up. In the Pikeville game, I was playing first, and I dropped the game-ending double play when I stretched, and it popped. And I was like, I don't know if that wasn't good. And then I tried to catch. I think I was 4 or 5 innings into the next game, and I couldn't even Coach Fair came up to me. He said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Nope, not at all." Well, I remember that game. I was in the dugout sitting, I was stretching, and I was sitting on the floor of the dugout at Ridley Helton, and I was stretching, and I could just barely see home plate. And I hear the crack of the bat. And I remember sitting there. I was just sitting on my butt and just watching the ball. And I looked up and I just did this. And I was sitting there stretching. And I was like, when he hit that home run, I said, there's no way that they score a run on him at any point in this game anymore. And then we had a runner on. I walked up, I called him out, and I said, because I was like, all right, we need to go over signs. We need to make sure we're on the same page right here, because this is an important out. And sure enough, and I walked up to him, I said, a couple of explicitives, but we're in the moment, and I had something to do with, let's strike this, who MF out. And he was like,
I said, let's strike this nice fella out.
Yeah, nice fella. Mother, father.
Yeah.
And he did. And we went, and it was awesome. It was one of those baseball things where you're the guys you grinded with through tough times, and it all came to a head. Wish we could have taken it a little bit further, but that was kind of one of those things. It was like, it always seemed like they got the best of us, and we, especially that season, and then we turned it around and got the best of them. And it was just like, it was bittersweet. For sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure, and I hope as long as the good Lord keeps my memory intact, that's the one baseball memory that I think will always be near the top, if not at the top of my list. That was a culmination of a lot of things for me on a personal level, because we were displaced that year.
Yeah.
We were playing all of our games at Ridley Helton.
And that's tough, by the way.
Find a place to have practice. It felt like everything we were doing that year was just going against the current, and it was getting frustrating. But the one thing I don't really think I talked about a lot was, we had some pretty seasoned dudes on the team that year. You guys had played a lot of baseball together. You'd spent a lot of time on the bus together. You'd spent a lot of time in your dorm rooms together. You spent a lot of time in workouts in the off season together. So, that day it's started like any other day, I guess. You're loading all your crap up to haul downtown Knoxville to get set up at Ridley Helton. And I got to be honest with you, I didn't say this a lot because I didn't want to kind of show my emotions, I guess, but I hated playing there.
That was awful.
Up to this point. I hated not feeling like we had a home. I hated hauling that crap around, all of our equipment, gear, whatever. But, baseball players were creatures of habit, and we go on about our business just like we always did. And the game got started. Chase White was on the bump, and I felt like that's honestly probably the one start of his that I feel like it didn't go great, but honestly, he kept us in the game. He had a tough go of it, but he just kept battling. And I remember a conversation I had with myself is like, what's my next option? I don't feel like we're out of the game. Like you guys had mentioned, Wassee went up early. Wassee was always a good ball club.
Such a scrappy team.
Hard-nosed baseball players.
kept you on your toes
And you guys know as
constantly.
well as I do. I mean, Coach Gardner has been a friend of mine for a long time, and you guys grew up playing high school ball with some of these guys and against some of them. But the call that went Coach Gardner's way is still to this day, it baffles me how that all unfolded, because when Hawasi's, the guy that was on deck, went to the fence and picked the ball up and put it back in play, I guess, essentially, when the ball was always in play. I'm not sure that Coach Gardner knew right away that the call was in his favor. I think he was, in his defense, I think he was probably trying to defend his guys. And, at this point in life, I try to look back and say that I don't know if I would have not done the same thing. It's hard telling. But I never felt like we were out of that game. It was just, so baseball's a long season. College ball is no joke. It's a lot of baseball. And when you're not playing at home and you're practicing all over the place and driving 25, 30 minutes to get to your home ballpark for the year, that point in the game for sure felt like, okay, like baseball's weird. Baseball's real weird. And it was almost like, okay, something's gonna happen. We don't have a clue what it is, but something's gonna happen. And I remember at that point, I remember taking a look at Max in the on deck circle before his AB. And I remember thinking, okay, here's what our situation is, what I want him to do. And I remember kind of just getting out of my own way, honestly. And that's something that I've not talked about a lot. And I don't talk about it because I don't want to take pride in it, because you guys play. You're the ones that make me look pretty good. And I remember just saying, you know what, we're going to let this ride, because I trust my guys and they deserve these opportunities. Well, as soon as the ball left the bat, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, and for those that don't know and are listening or watching, whatever, Ridley Helton is a huge ballpark. I mean, it's deep. The gaps are deep. The fence is huge. And I'll never forget. I mean, it's weird, because you hear a lot of professional athletes talk about how everything kind of becomes silent, in that moment. And I remember, it's like in my own mind, I felt like I could have heard a pin drop. And it was like, we're just at a ballpark. I can't hear a thing. But I just remember the eruption of our fans in our dugout. And that was as pure of a swing as I've seen in Max probably in his career. I mean, it was like, that was just a special moment. I remember
that was Emory and Henry swing is what that was. When we went up there and just found it was something in the food we ate up there.
We should have played there every year.
Yeah.
And here's one thing. I've never told you this, Max. But I remember when you crossed second base and you came towards third, and we kind of like locked eyes for a second. It was like, I felt like not only was I extremely proud of you, but it was like a mutual respect that I think we just acknowledge each other. And I'll never forget the smile on your face. I mean, it was like, this is why we play baseball. Yeah. These moments aren't supposed to happen every time you're on the field, or else it would become just, everyday mundane things in the game. But I remember at that point, I was like, you know what? Like, this game's ours. Like, we're going to win. It's going to be a good night. And from that point on, it was like, all right, I'm getting out of my own way. I'm going to let Max go do his thing. I trust Burke behind the dish. And it's just sit back, and I got a front row seat to one of the better games I've ever been involved with in my life. And so
that's it. That's the best one.
There's the conversation.
Yeah. So I don't know. The whole day was just like, from a coaching perspective, was pretty special. That was, like you mentioned, Burke, I wish things would have the outcome of the season would have been a little bit different. But that's the way the game goes. I mean, there's always, hindsight's always 20/20, but that was just a beautiful moment for, I think, our program, for you guys in particular, for everybody on the team that year. I mean, like I said, we had some dudes on that squad, and that was fun. That was fun for me as a coach. But seeing two guys that I was just really proud of get out there and do what I always knew they were capable of doing. I think on the last time we were all together, Lopes, you and Maxie and I talked about, me recruiting Max. I was at his last high school baseball game, his senior year. And the outcome wasn't what you wanted coming off your previous year as a junior and what you guys did that year. I remember begging Burke to get the heck out of Temple because of a play.
Didn't really have to beg us.
Because of a play that you made at first base. I'm like, I'm sick and tired of you freaking scooping everything and making every play.
He picked the ball with his bare hand. Who does
that? Was crazy.
Who does that?
That was so. Lopes, if you're not aware of that play, so it was long-haired guy hung out with us, played second base for y'all. Blanken. What's his name?
The guy who played second for us.
Played second base summer. No, he might have played first base. It was Newsom's, one of Newsom's real good friends.
Yeah, Micah Hescock.
Micah Hescock. Yeah. I didn't hear you say that. So Lopes, we were playing at Signal Mountain High School because Temple, my freshman year, we didn't have a field. That's why I said, yeah, it's hard to do because I did it starting my college career. So to end the game, Micah Hescock, he's a righty, and I'm playing a little in at first base. Well, he hits a one hopper, just a screamer right at me. It took a bad hop, and I caught it barehanded in front of my face, and then just stepped on first base like nothing happened to end the game. with the winning, I think the tying run or winning run was on second, or it was a close game.
Yeah, there's not many times I wanted to fist fight like an opponent who was playing the game, but like at that point I'd had enough of Berkey. Like I was over it.
I think the one you're talking about was at Johnson, and Nico was our catcher. We had a really good catcher, and he was a drop third strike. And I went back across the base and picked it, but wasn't even looking.
I fell backwards.
But, yeah, I fell backwards as I was picking it, and Coach Fair was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, he
literally said it to me.
He about 117 from about 43 feet, and you somehow picked it. And I was like, Burke, oh man, you have a Temple. I'm over it, bud.
When I called Coach Fair, I said, "Hey, so you got a spot?" And he was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, I do actually.
Gosh, well,
got a couple.
I obviously, that moment of that game against the Wassy is obviously your guys's moment. I had nothing to do with it. Yes, I was wearing a uniform and I was in the dugout, but I had nothing to do with any of it, obviously. And my memory of that game is very spotty, obviously, compared to you guys who were in the thick of it and really kind of having being involved in the outcome of it. I do remember Max's home run. That was a lot of fun. But that whole year was just a big trash shoot for me. So for me, honestly, my memory is a little spotty, but no, it is really awesome to hear that perspective of it, because again, for me, it was awesome. That game was a ton of fun to be a part of, and to be a part of that comeback was awesome. But I will say that the thing that I wish, I'm glad I went through what I went through that year, because it made me the man I am today and the human being I am today. And I just was not a good human being at that point. But I do wish that I could have been a part of a game like that, where it was just pure fun and emotion, and being a part of that comeback would have been awesome. So it's really great to hear the perspective from all three of you guys on that, especially you, Coach Fair. I still have no idea what happened with that call from the coach there. Like again, for me in the dugout, you try to watch everything, but sometimes you just, you're watching the play, you're not watching what's going on over here. And all of a sudden, for me, he's just screaming, and he's, he gets thrown out of the game, and I'm like, didn't something bad just happen to us? I'm really confused. Like, I was so confused.
Well, so let me throw a little caveat into this story. When that play happened, I walked from the third base coaching box towards home plate to try to tell Coach Gardner, hey, calm down, man. This is going in your favor. I'm the one that's getting screwed here. And I couldn't get to him fast enough, honestly, because by the time I made it to home plate, he's pretty fired up. And then the home plate umpire, he looked through my soul, essentially, and told me to walk back to the third base coaching box and do not move. And I was like, yes, sir. And so I turned around and walked right back away. And then at that point, it was too little, too late. It was beyond anybody's control. So I don't think anybody remembers that portion of it, but I remember that umpire, he was like, you need to walk away from here right now. And so I did. And the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, and I was standing there, and he started yelling, and I think I was either on deck or out, because I was out there, and I was just like, what is going on? This is weird. What's happening?
Yeah.
Because Shane's never, I've never seen him act like that.
Yeah.
He was always real laid back, and yeah, he would get in his guy's butt, but who doesn't, as a coach does, but he never acted like that. And it was a weird,
yeah.
If he had something against that umpire, he was just trying to fire his guys up. I'm not sure. Maybe he felt that change. Maybe he felt that shift and was like, yeah, I need to, we're losing the momentum. I need to fire them up. Something. I don't know.
Yep.
So I don't want this to go unsaid, because I know we've talked a lot about this, and obviously Berkey and I, of course, we're in the middle of that night, but we talk about the home run. One of the greatest moments of my life. I'll selfishly think about it for a long time, just because it was awesome, and I'll live in the glory days with it. But the difference in that game, if you look at it, that home run didn't put us ahead. That home run made it 8-5. It was an 8-2 game. I hit a 3-run home run. That home run made it 8-5. It's not like we had won.
Right.
That was the fifth inning. You would have thought we were up 10.
Yeah.
From the fifth inning until the end of the ninth, and we scored 6 more runs in that game. We scored 6 runs off of their bullpen that had 90-plus dudes running out one after another.
Mm-hmm.
That moment on, it was. I think have y'all seen the movie For the Love of the Game?
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
It's maybe my favorite baseball movie of all time.
I agree.
He's throwing the no-hitter. John C. Reilly comes out and he goes, right now, we don't suck. Right now, nothing else matters. Right now, we don't suck. I'm not saying that we sucked at Johnson. I'd be a fool if the team that I played for 4 years. But that moment was right now, nothing else matters but what we've got going on.
Yeah.
We could compete in the conference tournament. Great. We ended up not winning the conference tournament. We weren't getting out large bid. That game right there, nothing else mattered. Everybody's zoned in, whether it was dugout, fans, people on the field. It was the most electric atmosphere. Everybody had everybody's back. If somebody struck out, it was next guy up. If I walked a guy, it was we got the next one. Somebody made a play behind me. And it was like I said, you'd have thought we were down 3 runs and you'd have thought we were up 30.
Yeah.
Well,
and the thing that I think about too, Max, is, being displaced like that, it's hard on the entire program, but we had unbelievable support from our players' families, our student body. I mean, I remember being blown away, being 30 minutes away from our campus. And I mean, we had a lot of support on our fan base while we played at Ridley Helton. And that meant a lot to me. And I know it meant a lot to you guys too, but that meant a lot to me because you guys deserved it. You deserve to have that kind of support. You deserve to have that kind of fan base follow you, regardless of where we're playing. And, you know, as I get older now and I look back on my coaching career at Johnson, those are the things that I think I value more than anything. It's just how much you guys were supported, how much we were supported by your families and your friends. And it would be nothing for some of your childhood friends to just randomly show up for a weekend series. That really helped.
Yeah.
Guys that you played with, guys you played against, some that traveled 30 to 45 minutes and some that traveled 3 to 4 hours, just show up. And that was special. And I think that the senior night activities, when I remember seeing all of you guys lined up out there. I mean, that was like, that was a special moment for me because that was years of work to try to get the right caliber of people in the program who were just competitors. And, you know, we're always a little bit behind the 8 ball because we didn't offer athletic scholarships. And I'm trying to sell you guys on an opportunity and taking a chance on a guy like me when really you guys could have gone elsewhere at the drop of a hat. And so I see those pictures and those memories come up and I'm like, man, that's really the only reason why I did it. Honestly, is sure, I wanted to win every game we played. I wanted to hang conference championships and get to the national championship, you know. But at the end of the day, I don't remember the final scores of every game. I don't remember all the wins and losses, but I remember who lined up on senior night. You know, I remember the parents that came and supported you on senior night. And that's pretty special, honestly.
Yeah. Shout out to my dad that year. Thank goodness he was retired. He did not miss a game that year.
He didn't miss a
He
single
was at
game.
every single game that year.
Oh, Eddie, he had to log some miles that year, didn't he, Burke?
He did. He did. And he told, you know, there were some games like, I can't remember, we were somewhere and he called me. He's like, one time, you know, we pushed the game back or something. I called him and was like, hey, I said, you don't have to be here. I said, it's going to rain. It's cold as crap up here in Kentucky. Like, you don't have to be here. And he said, what do you mean? I said, it's all right. And he goes, nope, I'm headed that way. I was like, all right, there we go. And he was there every single game. And I look over there and he'd be standing there with Chase White's dad. He'd be standing there because they never like to sit down. Me and Chase White talk about it all the time. And that was from when me and Chase White were 7, 8 years old, played with each other. And we'd look up there and they'd be standing up the whole entire game sitting there talking. So it was just funny.
It's crazy because there were times where I'd be like, where the heck did Eddie and Kevin go?
Yeah.
Where are they at now? And then it would be like, I couldn't always find Lisa right away, but I could hear her.
Yeah,
you know,
could.
like, now that I heard her, I was like, I know the general vicinity, so I'll glance over there at some point. I'll find Miss Lisa at some point. We'll find her.
Yeah. I'll bring up one little story. It was funny. It was actually from my sophomore year, our sophomore year, and he used to sit right there next to the dugout, right there on the on deck circle, like right where the on deck circle was, right on the, you know, where the bleachers were. He sat between the bleachers and where the dugout started. And he used to sit right there and watch the game. Well, I remember the game, the Alice Lloyd game. Malley was pitching. It might have been Malley was pitching. It wasn't the sophomore year. It was my junior year. The game almost got thrown out of because Malley was getting squeezed real bad. And I was just like, and I didn't say anything to the guy. I just put my hands on. I was like, where are those missing? Like, you know, Newsom is sticking the ball. And I'm just like, that's a strike. And the guy comes out, starts yelling at me. Anyway, well, I remember later that day, and I would look over there, and he was gone. He had moved, and I was like, "Where'd he go?" And I remember it was late in the game, and I first pitch fastball, I hit a little one hopper right back to the pitcher. First pitch fastball late in the game, and then pitcher ran over, tossed it to the first baseman. Well, I ran it out, hit first base. Well, when I hit first base, I hear this voice right there. He had moved down to the first baseline, and he said, "You going to swing at every first pitch?" I just barely heard it. And I was like, turned and looked at him. He was like, he threw his hands up, and I was like, "Where'd he come from?" He never said anything. He never said a word. He would say, he'd come up to Coach Fair and be like, "Good to see you, Coach," and then he'd walk off. He just never said a lot.
Yeah.
But he would let you know when you made a mistake. He would. Yeah. But that's the greatest. The greatest dads, greatest coaches. That's what they do.
Is Grady's team pretty good? Do they win a lot?
Mm-hmm.
I would hope so, because between a Reds fan and a Cardinals fan, y'all don't see much winning, do you?
Well, so here's the caveat. He has basically gone all in with this being an Atlanta Braves fan.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
He's it's
he needs more baseball cards.
He does need more baseball cards. He got a new baseball binder for his birthday.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
He got a couple more packs of baseball cards for his birthday, but he has he's basically just, the Reds and the Cardinals have moved to somewhere in the lower quadrant of his top teams, I guess. So
how'd you let that happen?
Well, here's the deal, Burke. I've been a Reds fan probably longer than I've been alive.
That's fine. At least you're consistent.
If you're going to be consistent, be consistently good or bad at something, right? The Reds just have been consistently bad for some time, and potentially the foreseeable future. Though we've played well in the last 5 or 6 games, but it's early. Give us time. We'll figure out how to lay an egg, maybe many of them. But he's all in this Braves thing right now, and there's no sign of it slowing down. I mean, his T-shirt, hat, jersey collection is if you were to open his closet, you'd think that there are no other teams on planet Earth for him to cheer for other than the Milwaukee Bucks and the Atlanta Braves.
Milwaukee Bucks.
Love that.
That's where we're at right now. So
not another one. They're
I will say it warms my heart when I saw you guys at Johnson. He just the fact that he, like, seeing that he loves the game, because I remember as a kid, when I was a kid, and I didn't go anywhere without a football or a baseball. And when I was little, like, football was my sport when I was little. Loved throwing football, but I played baseball. Of course, I didn't play football when I was little, but I played baseball. But I always had a football. Yeah. Huge Rams fan, Vols fan, and whatever. And I always had a football. I always had a Rams hat on, and I always had a football.
Yeah.
But seeing him like that is just.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how many times I lose track of him, and I'd be like, "Where's Grady?" And every single one of you guys were like, "He's right over here," and he'd be leaned up against the fence just watching.
Yeah.
Watching.
Yeah.
Just now.
I keep it right over there, and then throwing with him like the kid. It's weird. It was weird playing catch with him.
Yeah.
Because the last time I had seen him he was like really tiny, and then playing catch with him, and it was like, okay, I need to dial it back a little bit. I'm getting old.
Yeah. And there's so much, like, I mean, that I don't know. That was like a season of life where I just, that he loved being around his baseball boys. That was his thing. He loved being around you guys. He knew your numbers. He knew your names. He knew if you were a bullpen pitcher or starter. He knew where you were playing defense. And there were many times where he knew where you were going to bat in the lineup.
I wanted to just give a quick shout out. Thank you so much, Coach Fair. I'm sorry at the way things kind of ended for you guys watching at home. Hopefully I'm going to be able to edit this into making it look a little bit better than it was, but my internet was really spotty. And then unfortunately the meeting just kind of cut out in the middle of him kind of doing his thing and finishing up his story. So I do want to give a shout out to Coach Fair. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciated it. And thank you guys so much for sharing that perspective on everything. And again, as I said in the actual story, my memory of that game is very spotty. So thank you so much for kind of bringing that back up and bringing up some memories that I had kind of forgotten there. But all right, let's get back into the draft here. So I believe it is my go around here, and then it'll be Max after this. So I've got my pitchers, as Max said. I could have waited, so that's just dumb on my part, but that's okay because the guy I want is still here. So I'm going to give him a go because Burke took Albert Pujols with his last pick. I've got to get, in my opinion, the next best first baseman on the board. Surprised Burke didn't go with this, given that he's a Yankees fan, but I'm going Lou Gehrig.
Yeah. The great pick.
Yeah, and again, I think his career and his life was cut pretty short. So who knows how well he's already remembered very well. He already may be the best first baseman ever outside of Albert or anybody else that I'm just completely forgetting. But who knows how good he could have been had he played longer than he did.
For my first go around, I'm going to take a guy just because I can't quit looking at him. I was going to wait and then be okay if I got Mike Trout. I know Berkey got Mantle. But I have 5. This is my 6th pick, which means we all have minimum 12 total, 18 total. And Willie Mays is still on the board. So
yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and lock that one up.
Fair enough. Great pick.
And then because it's 1, 2, 3, I'm gonna go. Give me Hank Aaron in right field. Never mind, Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron. I'm not surprised that you went Hank, given his much braviness. So that makes a lot of sense. Did Hank Aaron not play for the Braves? Am I out of my mind?
Go Braves, baby! Yes, I know Hank Aaron played.
I was like, you're messing with me. I'm like, am I out of my mind? Did he not play for the Braves? I'm pretty sure I've been to the Braves' new stadium. I'm pretty sure they have a thing there for him. I'm like, what's happening right?
Yeah,
I don't know. It's late. I've been sick all week. It's just one of those things. My brain doesn't work right now. But no, that's a great pick. Obviously, in many people's minds, I don't think in our minds, but in many people's minds, still the home run king legitimately in baseball, considering
it was me for a long time. I thought that for a long time. As a Braves homer, I think growing up, any Braves fan would say that, like at part. But I mean, if you call yourself a baseball fan and you've watched Barry Bonds play baseball, I mean, it's not close.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. Well, okay. I am also going to go outfield here, but I am probably going to take somebody that you guys are not going to think I'm going to take here. I'm not taking Babe Ruth. I'm not taking Ken Griffey Jr. I'm not taking Ted Williams. I am taking my 3rd favorite baseball player of all time. He has scored more runs than anybody, stolen more bases than anybody. He played for almost 25 years in baseball. He is the most eccentric baseball player of all time, and he is my 3rd favorite baseball player in history. That is one Rickey Henderson.
It's a great pick. Had pop too.
He absolutely did.
He had some pop. That stance was crazy. I watched when he was chasing history earlier. There was a TikTok I was watching, and his stance was. I still don't know how you hit like that. You hit bent over like that. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And he was unbelievable. I mean, the stats that he put up at the time, I mean, you think about, yes, obviously Barry Bonds kind of made a mockery of baseball in the early 2000s, which is around the time, late 90s, early 2000s, where Rickey was kind of getting toward the end of his career. But at the time that Rickey Henderson was doing what he did, you were not supposed to break records as easily as Rickey Henderson was breaking records. I mean, he was stealing 130 bases a season. And the crazy thing is, is people think, oh, Ricky Henderson was just really fast and he walked a lot. Both those things are true. But he stole 69 bases or 68 bases at age 39. He was almost 40 and he led the league in steals. Like, it's unbelievable what that kind of athlete that guy was. And plus, just the stories you hear about Ricky. I mean, he didn't cash $1 million check. He just framed it on his wall. Like, it's just like one of the, like, some of the he would talking the third person like The Rock all the time. Like, Ricky's got to run. Here we go. Like, just, you know, one of my favorite baseball players of all time for sure.
There was a stat that came out from about it. Somebody tweeted it. It was like somebody could steal 20, like they could steal like 30 bases for the next 25 years or something and not even get close to it. Was something stupid. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something like
I think he had was it 20 years straight of 20 plus stolen bases or something? I think that's what it was. It was something like 20 plus years of 20 plus stolen bases. And that's like bare minimum. And he only did 20 like at the very beginning and at the very end. All the rest were like 65, 80, 95, 115, 130. Like, it just was, he stole third base more in one season than the Minnesota Twins as a baseball team stole bases at one point. Like, he was just incredible to watch. Incredible. I gave you a little extra time to come up with your picks there, Burke. You're welcome.
So yeah, no, I've had this one queued, and I thought for a second you were going to pick this. But then you said something about stolen bases. So I've got another outfielder queued up. Another guy that has some insane stats when you look at him. Entire 20-year career, only struck out 434 times. Mr. Padre, Tony Gwynn, is my next pick.
It's a great pick. I have to admit, based on the numbers, while he was great, he is not on my board at all.
He's on my like maybe board. That's a great pick. You can't go wrong with that. There's so many outfielders.
None of these picks are bad. None of these picks are bad. It's just a matter of kind of what you value in terms of player. Like, for me, who knows? Maybe Ricky Henderson's not on either of your boards, but Ricky Henderson was the fourth outfielder on my board, and the top three are still available. As far as, well, no, actually, he was fifth on my board because Willie Mays was on there, but but for me, I had to pick Ricky just because it's a personal attachment for me. I love Ricky, so but for you guys, you might not have that same attachment to Ricky as I do, so he may not be on your board. So none of these are bad picks at all. So hopefully everybody at home kind of gets that. But it is my turn, I believe now.
I got one more.
Oh, Burke's got one more. I'm sorry.
I was back to back. No, you're good. You're good. And I'm struggling with this one because I don't know, because my third base, shortstop, second base are gonna. I don't think any of you guys are gonna pick these guys that I picked. So I think I'm gonna go catcher. I'm sitting here struggling between two people. One that I got to see his entire career, and one I got to see the later end of his career. But he was he's a staple, and I think I'm gonna go Ivan Rodriguez as my catcher. I was struggling between him and Yachty because Yachty's Yachty. I got to see Yachty play his entire career, so. But I'm going Ivan Rodriguez.
And I know, obviously, my parents watch the podcast because they're my parents, but I could just see my dad just flipping tables right now. Go, are you kidding me? Punch Rodriguez over Johnny Bench, just like losing his mind. But no, it's a matter of preference. And right. For me, I know that people, if there are some old heads watching, they're gonna sit there thinking, you took Ricky Henderson over Ty Cobb or Ted Williams. Like, are you kidding me? It's one of those things.
And people probably disagree with this, but I have a really hard time mixing these players. Some of these players, yeah, those guys were great. Those guys were good. But do I think Babe Ruth or those guys, do you think they could hit a damn 98-mile-an-hour splitter? You think they could? No, they couldn't. They couldn't. Do you think they could hit Nolan Ryan's fastball? No, I don't think they could. But I can't. It's like the game progresses. Yes, they were great at the time. I'm not blaming them. They couldn't help that.
Yeah.
But I also know that, like, if I'm going straight based off somebody's skills or who I think, like, if I'm going to put Johnny Bench or I'm going to put Ivan Rodriguez, it's like Pudge could probably, Pudge is probably a better hitter. I mean, it's just the skills are different,
Sure.
especially catching, because you have to be especially catching. So but I have a hard time mixing those players sometimes. Like when Bleacher Report came out and put Babe Ruth as the greatest baseball player ever, I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, and I feel like impact and greatness are so confused a lot of times. Now, Babe Ruth may have been the original pioneer as to what modern hitting looks like now. And I don't think that there's really much of an argument there. I mean, he was the first guy to start putting the ball over the fence. And that's really what a lot of guys are just trying to do now. Not everybody. You still have your Luis Arises, thrown in there every once in a while. But for the most part, unless you're a guy like a Ronald Acuna or somebody like that can run and steal 40 bases a year and still has decent power, you're probably just going to be a guy that hits a lot of home runs and you don't do a whole lot else. So I think Babe Ruth is one of those guys that people look back on and think he was the original, and so therefore he was the greatest. However, a lot of people gave Adam Ottavino a lot of crap a few years ago for saying he'd have struck Babe Ruth out. But let's be frank, he probably would have. A lot.
Yeah. If Adam Ottavino throws me
in today's game. It's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it just is. I just 100%.
Yeah.
So there's my two. So back to you, Lopes.
There you go. All right. So back to me. I have guys that I like better than this guy in terms of just players overall, but I think I'm worried that Max is. I don't think Max has got two relievers. So I have to go this guy, and he's making a face. I think he's going to be relieved when I take the relieved puns. When I take this guy. But another pick where this might just be my hometown kind of a bias here, but I'm going with a reliever, a great A's reliever and a great Red Sox reliever in Dennis Eckersley.
That's okay. Was on my list.
There he is.
He was the first one I wrote down.
Yeah. And I guess that wasn't who Max was going to take. So I'm interested to see, because I'm not going to lie to you, dude. That's my board. So I don't know if I've left somebody off that's like just blatantly obvious, but
I don't know about obvious, but I need a lefty. I need a lefty, and this guy's not a Hall of Famer, but should be a Hall of Famer. And I'm going to take Billy Wagner.
Okay. You know what's funny? That makes a lot of sense, first of all. Second of all, I thought you were going Chapman for a second, the way you set that up. And I was like, wait, hang on, Yankees fan. Give me a second. You have to admit that Aroldis Chapman, in terms of pure dominance as a reliever, is right up there in his prime with anybody else that's ever touched a baseball as a closer.
If you would have taken Wagner, I was probably going Chapman because I need a lefty.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, like, you can make that face all you want. I understand that in his later years he wasn't as good, Burke, but pure dominance in his prime, Aroldis Chapman is up there with anyone. I would not hate. Like, if I didn't get two of the four guys on my board, I was probably going Chapman at some point.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't have loved it. I wouldn't have been the happiest person in the world, but I would have done it, because at this point, when I'm thinking of dominance, and you know what? You know who else is up there, guys? I hate to say it. Craig Kimbrell's up there too.
He's on mine.
And I know you as a Braves fan, me as a Red Sox fan, maybe have a little bit different perspective than Burke might, because you saw him
I know.
in his prime, Max.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him right at the tail end of his prime, and I got to see him live, like in the stadium when all the fire and the rock music playing. it was something else, man. I mean, that guy could throw a baseball, dude. So I wouldn't have hated it. I wouldn't have hated it. But anyways, your second pick.
I think I'm doing this because I keep looking at Chipper and I really wanted Chipper, and I was like real confident that I was going to get Chipper, but then I didn't. I don't want Schmidt. I don't like the Phillies, and I'm also like Mays. Okay, Kyle Ripken. Okay, that was just a stupid pick. Anyway, but I'm also trying to pick guys that like I somewhat watched, unless you're Willie Mays or a few others that are on here. But like I somewhat got to like actually see parts of their career. So I'm going to take a third base. I'm not taking Eddie Matthews either. I'd love to take Eddie Matthews just as like the homer pick. I'm going to take a guy that is maybe one of the most entertaining baseball players to watch. We saw his whole career. So outfielder started a young kid, one of the most just like, I know I'm young and you're the vet, Mr. Roger Clemens, but you're not just going to bully me kind of ABs. And he ends up getting a base hit. I'm taking Miguel Cabrera at third base.
Wow.
He had a home run off Roger
Yeah.
Clemens. Wasn't a base hit. It was a home run.
It
was a Marlins team.
It was an Apo Taco, yeah? That's the
Yeah.
one here.
It was also a Marlins team that was an expansion team that beat the mighty New York Yankees. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and that's fair. But here's the thing. I've got to bring this up, guys, because I feel like I haven't said this to anybody, but I have a coach that's still a mentor of mine, and he's still one of my best friends. We just spoke the other day. We didn't speak about this, but we spoke about this in the past. He is somebody that believes that today's game, and this is 5 years ago, maybe. This is before Beltray retired, so this is when, you still had Albert Pujols was still playing and Beltray was still there. Obviously, Miguel Cabrera is still playing, I guess, technically. I don't know.
Last year, I think.
Okay. So he firmly believed that outside of Albert Pujols, that there were no first ballot Hall of Famers playing in today's baseball at that time outside of maybe Mike Trout. Now, again, you gotta understand, this is pre-Shohei Ohtani, and this is just after his prime Kershaw, where he hadn't really won anything. So this is a different time.
Okay.
So are we willing to put Miguel Cabrera at this point? Because full disclosure, he's not on my board at anywhere. Third base, first base, DH, he's not anywhere. Because for me, Wade Boggs is there, George Brett is there, Mike Schmidt is there, Eddie Matthews is there. Like, you got all these third basemen that are ahead of him. Brooks Robinson is there. Like, are we putting Miguel Cabrera ahead of any of those guys at this point? Because, I mean, let's be honest. He won the Triple Crown and he won an MVP. Great.
3,000 hits, too.
3,000 hits.
500 home runs.
500 home runs. But is he better than those guys? In the totality of his career, championships, didn't even really get close, quite frankly. Like, no, he did win a championship with the Marlins. What am I talking about? He won two championships?
One with
97 and 02.
Yeah.
That
Detroit team.
97 and 03.
He was still on the Marlins in 03? Oh, shit.
No, I thought Detroit won that championship in 2006.
He wasn't on the 97 team. He was a rookie in the 03 team.
That's what okay. So I did forget about the one championship with the Marlins. That's my fault. But he didn't win a championship with the Tigers as far as I remember. He wasn't even on the Tigers in 06, to my knowledge.
And the Cardinals beat the Tigers now.
I thought they won. I thought the Tigers won.
I mean, he was still in Florida in 06, but.
Yeah. So, again, anyway, point being, are we putting him ahead of those guys? Or any of those guys, all those guys? Like, where are we?
I think he's a better hitter than those guys.
Yeah.
He's a better hitter. Not a better third baseman. I don't know he's played third base, but not a better third baseman, no. Better hitter, yes. I had him on my DH list.
Fair enough.
I mean, that was DH first base. That was but a better hitter, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Also, I think that he's a shoe-in first ballot.
Okay.
I do too.
I mean, the thing about first ballot is I also take into account how dumb the ballots are.
Yeah.
So, like, I would not be shocked if Miguel Cabrera does not make first ballot Hall of Fame just because of that, just because of that alone, and just the way people kind of look at things. And also, let's be honest, what has he done in the last 6 years, 7, 8 years?
Still a career 300 hitter.
Yeah.
When people don't like batting average anymore, and I think I'm one of those people, but still career 300 hitter.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
383 on base, 906 OPS career. I think I think he's like easy money first ballot Hall of Famer.
Fair enough. Well, I hope so, because he's a phenomenal player, and obviously he's been one of the best players I've ever watched in my lifetime. So that is a fair argument. I hope that he does make first ballot Hall of Fame. But moving on to the next pick here for me. So I'm going to grab my second baseman here. And again, I feel terrible. Max, I'm taking all your Braves. I'm going Eddie Collins.
That's a good pick. He's on my board. He's not my first on my board. He's on my board.
Yeah, and I know that there's a couple of guys. Rogers Hornsby up there might be the first on your board. Jackie Robinson might be the first on your board.
Those are second and fourth on my board.
Sorry?
Those are second and fourth on my board, with Collins sliding in at number 3.
Is there a second baseman that I'm intrigued. Well, all right. But anyways, Eddie Collins is my pick. So go ahead, Burke, with your 2 picks, and maybe we'll see who is Max's first.
Right. I'm gonna grab my last reliever, and I'm a little upset at myself because I'm righty heavy on my pitching, but who cares? I'm gonna go reliever. Big on this guy. I got to coach against this guy, which is pretty cool. Lives in Knoxville, Mr. Joe Nathan.
Good pick.
I walked up to give the lineup card to the umpire, and here he comes, and he goes, shook my hand. I said, Chase Burke. He goes, Joe Nathan. I said, I know very well who you are, sir. I said, nice to meet you. It was pretty cool. I got to coach against Joe Nathan, so that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
I'm going to roll over to my DH. And I apologize, Lopes.
There's one answer here, and it's not David. Oh, no, you're taking him, aren't you?
I am taking him.
Wow. Yes, hang on. Wait. Time out. First of all, that hurts. Second of all, you're a Yankees fan, so I'm confused. Third of all, even as a Red Sox fan, lifelong, I've said Ricky Henderson is my 3rd favorite baseball player of all time. I'm sure you guys could figure out Barry Bonds is my 2nd favorite baseball player of all time. It's not close. David Ortiz is my favorite baseball player of all time. Like I had a oh God, what are those big things called? The fat heads. I had a literal life-size David Ortiz fat head in my room until I moved out to college. I'm not kidding.
Should have brought to college.
Favorite player of all time. Even with that, you do know he's not the best DH of all time, right? Like you're even I have to admit he's not.
It's the clutch factor.
Postseason. I like
his clutch factor and being playing against him. And I don't hate him. That's the thing. I never hated him. I hated what he did to us, but I don't hate him. So I'm going his clutch factor. And I'm not saying I know he's not the greatest DH of all time. I think he revolutionized. I think he's the first really guy to take that role on and go with it. But his clutch factor, dude, unmatched. I think
the number 1 guy had a clutch factor as well. We just didn't get to see it because he played for a franchise that never won anything. But we'll see. It's a great pick.
Mo didn't have to throw to him.
Do what?
I say you pick Poppy so you could have him and Mo on the same team, so that Mo wouldn't have to throw to him.
I mean, you're not wrong. Well, there's not a lot of people that have hit Mo ever.
Right.
If I really wanted to just game plan around Mo, I wouldn't take David Ortiz. I would pick Bill Miller because for some reason, Bill Miller, look, he's rolling his eyes. He knows Bill Miller hit like 450 against Mariano Rivera. It made no sense. Bill Miller was not very good, but for some reason, even as a lefty, he hit 450 against Mo. It made no sense.
And if anybody picks up Tim Wakefield, I'm picking Aaron Boone.
That's
So I remember that there was a documentary of I think there was one documentary. It might have been Tim Burns' baseball documentary. Yeah, I know y'all watched that one. It's just like 12 episodes of it's just baseball. It's like anyway, he was like, you have a pitcher that throws off timing, and then you add somebody with bad timing, and you get Aaron Boone, and they show him hitting the home run. It's like bad timing, knuckleball pitcher, home run.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
But no, God. I'm going Big Papi because of his clutch factor, and just the sheer don't beat him, join him type thing. Can't beat him, join him.
I don't hate it. Obviously, I just am surprised. I thought you were saying you were sorry because you weren't picking David Ortiz, thinking I thought that he was the greatest DH ever, and I was going to be sad. But I'm like, dude, no, like he's not.
No, I know he's not. It's more or less like I said. He just
fair enough.
Just destroyed the Yankees, and I like him.
He did. That's fair. Okay, so I've got most of my position players good. There's obviously still pretty solid outfielders on the board. So I'm going to pick my catcher here. And I am going to go with a guy that I think if he played in a different era, he would be the greatest catcher of all time. I'm going to go with a man named Josh Gibson as my catcher. I think Josh Gibson, for those of you who do not know who that name, he hit 500 plus home runs in the Negro Leagues. He was a phenomenal actual fielding catcher. He had a crazy good arm. He wasn't all that fast, obviously, because he was a much bigger guy. But, I mean, just a guy who, if he played today, he would be the absolute ideal catcher for any franchise right now. He just was one of those guys, kind of like Satchel Paige, but even more so, that just didn't get that chance to show his skill until much later in his career. And as a catcher, Burke, as a catcher, it's not exactly well known for catchers to catch until they're 45 years old. Yadier Molina is a guy that stands out to me. It's one of the reasons why he's so special is because he has caught for that long, and he's caught for one franchise for that long. So it's pretty unbelievable. But Josh Gibson, probably not on any of your guys' board. But for me, he very well may be the greatest catcher of all time had he gotten the chance to show it.
That's a good pick. I like that pick. Okay, I want to do something that's arguably unconventional. First, I'm going to take my second baseman, then I want to talk about it. I'm going to go Hornsby. I was going to go another guy. I really, really like Joe Morgan. Passing up Hornsby's stats just doesn't make sense. Okay, question. What position do you consider Jimmy Fox? I'm taking him.
I consider him a first baseman or a DH.
Okay.
He's on my board for first base, but luckily I ended up getting Lou Gehrig. He was going to be my pick had both Pujols and Gehrig been off the board by the time I got to first base.
I'm going to take him at first.
It's a great pick.
I'm sure I couldn't take him at catcher.
That's true. Yeah, he caught a little bit, but I don't know. Burke,
I don't think it's enough. I agree. I like that.
Okay. All right. Then we'll go Jimmy Fox off the board. Okay. So it's back to me. I've waited on outfield long enough. I do not want Burke taking this guy because I know that he might, although I don't even know how many. I don't know how many outfielders or whatever anybody has anymore.
I'm out.
Oh, you're out. Okay. So
I'm out of outfielders.
Okay. Well, in that case, Yeah, in that case, I'm going to take my DH, even though I know that you... Wait, do I have any position that's... I don't. I'm good. Yeah, so I'm chilling here. So I am going to take my DH, and it's going to be, as we've already discussed, the greatest designated hitter of all time. It's going to be Edgar.
Yeah.
Edgar Martinez. Now, I will say this. I might be giving Max an idea. I don't know if he's gonna. I don't know if he needs. You need a DH, I think, still. Really thought hard about putting Frank Thomas as my DH. I really thought about it. Oh boy. But I ended now because Edgar's still there, had to go Edgar, but I really thought about it. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but
Oh yeah, I mean he's on my board for sure. He is on my board. So am I up?
yes, I believe so. You get two
Yo,
picks.
this is a homer pick for me.
Okay.
Not a bad pick, in my opinion, but a homer pick. Now,
Okay.
I had Roberto Alomar as my second baseman, who I wanted queued up, but I changed my mind, and I'm going Robinson Cano as my second baseman.
Oh, Berkey, no.
I'm doing it.
No, that's no. Come on, man.
Career 301 hitter, 68.1 WAR.
Oh, Berkey, he can't move. He never could move. He had a good glove and a good arm, but he couldn't move. Oh,
Flashy. I loved imitating him when I was a kid. Loved it.
Max, I gotta ask you, man. Are you even putting Cano in your top 10 second baseman of all time? He might be number 10, maybe number 10. Like, I wouldn't even give him 9. I'd give him 10, maybe.
I am.
Okay. All right. You got another pick here, and I think he needs a short. Wait, do you need a shortstop?
I do.
Get him, buddy. Just
don't do it.
put him up the middle.
Please don't do it, Burke. I'm gonna scream and I'm gonna wake my wife up. Don't do it.
I've already written it down.
Oh no!
You're gonna take the worst defensive shortstop over Honus Wagner.
Oh, Berkey, no.
Yeah, you already
Sir
wrote
Derek
it down.
Jeter.
Yeah,
I already wrote it down. I already wrote it down.
No.
I mean, you two knew coming into this is what I mean.
I know, and I let Honus Wagner go
He's
and
not.
team.
He's not overrated.
Defensively, he's the most overrated baseball player to ever play.
No. 1.5 Gold Gloves, Max.
Oh my gosh. Go look at the stats from those years and tell me if you think he should have won those Gold Gloves.
1.5 Gold Gloves, Max.
Oh.
Okay.
Wait, so is that it? And then I've got two.
Later in his career.
Oh no, you have one more.
Later in his career, he was worse. 3,400 hits, 310 career batting average.
All right. But here's what statistics don't tell you, Berkey. Okay.
What?
You remember how I said Robinson
top world championships. Sorry.
Remember how I said Robinson Cano couldn't move? Derek Jeter couldn't move either. His
later in his career, he couldn't.
Was any of his career.
No.
His range statistics are atrocious. And what, unfortunately, baseball statistics don't tell you. So, for instance, let's look at last year. Did you know that Nicholas Castellanos had the best fielding percentage of any right fielder in baseball last year? Would you say that Nicholas Castellanos is a good fielder? No. The reason he had a 1,000 fielding percentage is because he only ever caught the balls that were hit right at him. If a ball was hit anywhere even 2 feet away from him, it would drop in for a base hit. But that's not an error. That's just a hit. It's not statistics' fault that Nick Castellanos can't move or can't judge a fly ball if it's to the wall. But it looks like he was great last year. He was not. He never has been a good fielder. It's the same thing with Derek Jeter. If Derek Jeter couldn't get to a ball 3 feet away from him and just let it go into the outfield, it wasn't an error. All right. And I am mad. I think Max said this. I'm fully happy with Alex Rodriguez as my shortstop, just with his bat, and he was a great glove. But the fact that Honus Wagner did not get picked out of 3 shortstops in an all-time great team thing is not okay to me at all. But that's okay. You know, we'll just have to go with it. It's fine. Okay. So I got my catcher last pick, I think. And I got to get an outfielder here.
I did that for you.
I got to get an outfielder here. And with this guy sitting here, I can't pass up on him anymore. I'm going to move Ricky Henderson to left field, or actually probably to right field. And I'm taking Ken Griffey Jr. as my center fielder. And I am really
I don't like Ken Griffey Jr.
I'm getting from the two of you. What's going on?
I'm surprised Trout went undrafted. That's why. But I would have been also.
That's where I'm at.
If Griffey went undrafted, so it's like either one I was going to be surprised. But those
can Mike Trout play third base?
How'd you have picked a third one? I would have been.
Well, I still have one outfield spot.
Oh, that's fair.
Well,
so I could still pick Trout. So
he's the best player we've seen. I mean, he's the best player we got to grow up see. Like
sure.
Since we started yes, we watched Barry Bonds. We were young, but as far as players we got to see, he's the best we've seen.
Sure.
Bar none.
I completely agree.
Yeah. I mean, somebody that's in the MVP conversation every year.
Jimmy Fox played 830 innings at catcher. That's about 5%.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I'm good. I've already written my things, so we're good.
All right, Max, you have your last 2 picks. So
last 2 picks. Yeah, so obviously Fox at first base. We all agreed he didn't play enough innings behind the plate. So I'm gonna take Mr. Johnny Bench. I wanted to take Posey just because he's a guy we did get to see come up and pretty much play his whole career. But I do think stat-wise, and even injuries aside, I think, yes, the 3 world championships are great, but Johnny Bench some would say, is the greatest catcher of all time. But that's who I'm going behind the dish. And because I wanted to save this to my last pick, I am going to take my DH. No, it's not Frank Thomas. I need another lefty, and being a lefty, I only have one in Barry Bonds. So Mr. Jim Thome will be my DH.
Great pick.
That's a squad.
I like it. I like it a lot. That is a really, really good pick. And I think that makes a lot of sense lineup wise. If you do, that is crazy. You do only have one lefty on your in your lineup outside of him. But okay. All right. So this is my last pick. And I have one outfield spot remaining. And I have to say that this is the most difficult. Because I have, as I'm just going to update that here because I already picked Ken Griffey Jr. I have 4 guys on my board that all deserve to be here. And there's another guy I know you guys are going to probably scream at me. That's not on my board at all in Mike Trout. And the reason he's not on my board is just because I think that there are right now 6 better outfielders in the history of baseball than Mike Trout, at least. So for me, I can't justify putting him on here. I think by the end of his career, he'll be up there for sure. But right now, I think he needs to get out of LA. I think he needs to win a championship. And I think he needs to win another MVP before we put him in a conversation of he's a top 5 outfielder of all time. I don't see it yet. Yes, Max.
How many championships does Barry Bonds have?
He has 0, but he also literally made baseball a video game. don't think Mike Trout made baseball a video game yet. It's not really a great comparison, but I see your point.
I don't think he needs to get out of LA.
To be great. I'm not saying Mike Trout's not great. He's a top 10 outfielder of all time. But for me, I can't put him so high as to say that he's better than a lot of these other guys that I have on my list yet. Now, Griffey doesn't have a championship either, but I would put Griffey ahead of Trout, in my opinion. Does that mean that I think that Mike Trout will be better than Ken Griffey Jr. by the end? I don't think that at all, unless Mike Trout blows out his ACL right now and never plays again. But for me, looking at the two careers, I think Ken Griffey Jr.'s total career is better than Mike Trout's current total career. But by the end, he'll be better. So it just, we got to wait until the end. But anyways, I'm taking a little longer. I know we said 30 seconds, and that really hasn't happened at all, but it's fine. So, okay. There's so many guys here. So I'll tell you the four. Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, Ty Cobb, Joe DiMaggio. Those are the four that are on my board right now. And it's really difficult for me to pick between the four. But I think that, first of all, my father would be very angry at me if I did not take this person. And I would be very angry at myself if I did not take who many consider to be the greatest pure hitter in the history of baseball, and that's Ted Williams.
Yeah.
Got to go Ted Williams. He will be my left fielder. Ricky will move to right. Obviously, Ken Griffey will move to center field. That will be my outfield, and that is my team. And I have to say, fellas, I feel pretty damn good about my team right now. I can't lie. I feel pretty good about it. So, Burke?
I've got a third baseman left.
Yes, you do. And you've got some good ones left. You've got Mike Schmidt, Eddie Matthews, Wade Boggs, George Brett. You've got some good ones. So who are you going with?
I'm going to go with
Get Chase Headley.
You going with Aaron Boone?
Josh Donaldson.
Josh Donaldson, the Yankees legend.
He's
You going to go with Gio Urshela, Berkey? What are we doing here?
Chase Headley.
Gio Urshela is a first baseman, actually. Gio Urshela is a first baseman. Not sure what the Angels are doing there, but anyway, I'm going to go George Brett. He was the third. He was on my list. I had Chipper, then I had A-Rod, and then I had George Brett on my. He was third on my list. So that's who I'm going with.
Hey, that's not a bad pick at all. Well, fellas, looking at the totality of our picks here, how are you guys feeling about your squad, your lineup, rotation wise, bullpen? How you guys feeling? Strengths, weaknesses? Just tell me how you're feeling.
Nobody's scoring on me.
I need a left-handed, one more left-handed hitter would have been great. I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you guys at any point in the draft question Ohtani?
Yes.
I did multiple times.
It's so funny because when I was making my big board for DHs, I figured 3 was enough. And I had my 3, which is Edgar, Big Papi, and Frank Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
However, when I was creating the 3, before I remembered Frank Thomas, because, obviously we don't think about every single great baseball player every second of our lives. So when I was doing this, I said, he might already be the third best DH of all time, which is crazy to think about because he's only really played full time, 2 years, 3 years, 2 years. And he may already be the third best DH in history. And then I remembered Frank Thomas, even though he did play first a lot, he would have been a DH had that been more of a thing back when he played. So, and he did DH quite a bit. So, I feel like if he had more time at that point, he would have been fantastic at it. But yeah, I considered it at the very beginning of this, but once I kind of made my big board, I didn't really.
It's tough for me to put him top 3 right now if you take him solely as a DH. But the versatility, going through each pick, and it's you could get this dude right now as your DH and also have a third pitcher.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a guy
that's what kept bringing it back to me of taking Ohtani.
And guess what? In this world, you could have done it and also picked a second pitcher. So
Right.
like it would have been like hey, he could pitch and he could play the field. Hey, if somebody picked Babe Ruth, you could have tried that too. But I don't think anybody wants an 83-mile-an-hour fastball.
No, Ohtani. Don't get me wrong, Ohtani's nasty, and I really, it's almost like, they were upset last year that he, they were like, oh, Ohtani should win the MVP over Judge, and I'm like, no, like you can't just give it to him by default.
Right. If the award,
you can't.
If you're giving it to the best player in baseball every year, then Ohtani is going to win it until there's another Ohtani.
Exactly.
100%.
Or until he retires.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're going to say, because I'm gonna be honest with you guys, if Aaron Judge is not on our team last year, we might not win that division. We might not.
No, you definitely don't win that division without.
We might not get 3 extra games.
What?
Said you might
What'd
not
you
get
say?
3 extra games, but y'all won your first series. I'm giving you a hard time.
Yeah, well, yeah, you watch out. Then we lost to the world champions. So yeah, so shut up. Who's had our number the last, even though they cheated in 2017, but we ain't got to talk about that. But if you're gonna give it, if you just got to give it to him every year. But everybody was mad about it. I'm like, you can't be mad about it because he had a decent year and a decent year. If you split him into two people, he had good years both sides.
Yeah.
Nothing, no award, not awards years by any means, but good years.
But it's the fact that he's doing it as one person.
Oh, I get that. No, I get that. But then you have to, like, you could give him the Cy Young, but if he had a bad year offensively, it's like you can't give it to him. You can't give it.
Yeah, I think it is going to be tough as we as baseball fans and baseball pundits and the people who vote for these awards now, they've never had somebody like this to deal with at this point. I mean,
right.
You've never had the issue of a guy who goes out there and genuinely is one of the best pitchers in the game when he's out there. Yeah, and yet when he steps in the batter's box is also one of the most dangerous hitters in baseball. Because look, it's not even like we had a warm-up. Like, we didn't have there was a kid that came up with the Rays not too long ago that was supposed to be a two-way guy. Brendan McKay, I think was his name.
Brendan McKay.
Yeah. Like, we didn't even have like a Brendan McKay who was like an okay pitcher and an okay hitter, and he did both, but it was fine. And he was never in the running for anything because he wasn't dominant on either side. We didn't even get that. We just went from there's no two-way guys to there's a guy who's so dominant on both sides of the ball. He's the best player in the world, and no one can argue it. Like, I mean, like that. It was like we didn't even have a warm-up.
He blew Mike Trout, arguably the best player we are watching right now. He blew his doors off.
Yeah.
Now I understand there was a little bit more hype there, but he blew his doors off in the WBC. Like, it swung through 100 twice, and I was just like, oh crap.
Well, and just think about this for a second, fellas.
That was awesome.
Think about how we have already spoken about Mike Trout in this podcast. How I have said I wouldn't put him in top 6 necessarily outfielders, but you guys might. So let's just assume we all agree he's a top 6 outfielder of all time. You're up there with unbelievable players. Shohei Ohtani has played full time for what we just agreed to be 2 seasons, and there is an argument that he is better than Mike Trout. That's how good this guy has been. It has not been a slow climb. It has been he arrived, he's better than everyone from day one, and that's it. So these awards voters, I don't blame them. I don't blame some people thinking Shohei Ohtani's better than everyone, because you know what? He is. He is a better baseball player than Aaron Judge, or a better baseball player than Yordan Alvarez, who came in.
I'm not arguing, I'm not disagreeing at all.
Right, and so it is difficult. I can see why award voters are going to have problems with that, because you think about even this year. I mean, I'm trying to think as to who has started off the year just ridiculously hot.
Ronald Acuna.
Okay, but well, in the American League, I should have clarified. Ronald Acuna has, and I think you and I think I picked him to win MVP this year. Did I? Exactly. So yeah, and so I feel good about that right now. But I can't think of anybody in the American League.
He's so good.
Exactly. I can't think of anybody in the American League that has started a year so hot like Aaron Judge did last year that I would pick him for MVP over Shohei Ohtani right now.
I don't disagree. Definitely not anybody on our team. So
unfortunately, I'm not going to comment on you guys' last place woes right now. I'm just happy the Red Sox aren't in last place after a month. I literally said at the beginning, I was like, you know what? We're going to be in last, and that's okay. Like, it's just one of those things. But anyway, like, you have to, like, unless you have a year where, again, Aaron Judge broke the home run record for the American League last year. It was not a normal season for a hitter. Unless you have that every year, I don't know who's going to be better than Shohei Ohtani on any given year. Who is going to win MVP over Shohei Ohtani unless you have somebody who wins 20 games, has a 1.5 ERA, and loses 2 games and strikes out 250 batters, or on the flip side has a year like Aaron Judge? I don't know.
You have to look at.
I have no idea.
Like I said, like what I was getting at was the award is most valuable player. It's not. It's sometimes it doesn't go to the best player.
Sure,
it doesn't. It can't. If we want to go to what Aaron Judge was added the most value. To the Yankees last year.
Absolutely.
Without
Did he have
him,
an 11 WAR year? Is it something like that? 11? Was it an 11 WAR year? Like, it wasn't like a normal.
It was stupid.
I think he legitimately had like a 10.8 WAR of just hitting.
It was dumb. It wasn't
unbelievable. Yeah.
It was crazy. But then again,
where I got to with it. Go ahead.
No, so that's what I was going.
Is like the exactly what you were saying. If you take away what Shohei was for the Angels team, they still finished 15, 20 games out first.
Yeah.
This is just talking about last year. Obviously, there's more different years and MVP races, but specifically last year. Because for half the year, I was Shohei is the MVP until somebody else proves that they can be that valuable. Yes, he is valuable. But if you take him away and they're still last place or second to last place because they're in the A's division, it doesn't matter. You take Aaron Judge off the Yankees last year, they don't make the playoffs.
I mean, best case scenario wild card. That's it. Best case scenario wild card.
Yeah, and the Orioles, I think, only missed out by a couple of games too. So I wouldn't be shocked if the Yankees without Judge didn't make the playoffs at all, because you still had the Rays and you had the Blue Jays that both made the postseason with the Yankees making the postseason. Yeah. And then the Orioles were only a couple games behind. They were above 500. So, and the Red Sox won like, I think 12 games. I think that's how many? So something like that. But anyway. But
let's be honest with you. It's been a rough 5 years for me. Since 2017 happened, we've been there, and I don't necessarily think Aaron Boone is the guy. I just don't. I think they've made a lot of mistakes getting Josh Donaldson and obviously getting rid of Joey Gallo. Lord, how that became a mistake, I have no clue, because he's tearing it up right now. Yeah, and it feels like to me that the other night we faced Andrew Heaney, and I was 100% prepared for him to shove it down our throats. Do y'all remember the stint we had Andrew Heaney, and it was like every time he went out there, it was like balls were flying all over the place. I was 100% prepared because I was listening to my Yankees podcast, and they were like, I think this is just the Yankees revenge tour of ex-Yankees. Sonny Gray shoved it down our throats the other day. Joey Gallo hit 2 home runs in that series. Like, I was fully prepared for Andrew Heaney to shove it down our throats for 7 innings and us get 1 hit. Thank goodness we had a good second inning and ended up riding Cole all the way through,
Bergie, I'll say
But
this because you just made me think of it. When I was texting you and Lopes about wanting to do this, I was like, Berkey, I got to tell you something that I think about often because me and Burke talk just about once every other day. Like we're in a group message because of this fantasy baseball league. And oh gosh, I let the Yankees fans hear it constantly. I'm gonna say this one time, Burke. Here's your one thing. There is no team that I want less in a World Series right now than the New York Yankees. Give me the Astros again. Give me the Blue Jays. Give me anybody. The second the Yankees get back to a fall classic, it's over.
so that's why I'm upset because it's 20. If we'd have got there in 2017, in my mind, we win 3 out of the last 5. They get a taste of it. That young core guys get a taste of it, and they know how to do it. That's what happened. That's what happened in the 90s. 96, the team was middle of the pack, stats wise, middle of the pack. They won like 26 one-run games that year, which was stupid. Derek Jeter was young. I mean, he didn't really do much. 96, it was good, but he didn't do much.
And then you beat the Braves.
But they beat the Braves, and they beat a 3-headed monster that nobody had even touched. I mean, arguably the greatest rotation ever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like for real. They came to New York and beat them twice, and then we won 4 in a row, 3 in Atlanta, 1 back in New York, and they got that taste, and it was like, okay. And then in 97, who made the World Series in 97?
Marlins walked off on them.
Was it 97? I thought it was in 03.
No, 03, the Marlins beat the Giants. No, Marlins beat the.
No, Marlins beat
Diamondbacks in '97.
No, Diamondbacks were
Diamondbacks was 01.
Renteria was the 97.
They beat Cleveland. Somebody beat Cleveland. Was it the Marlins beat Cleveland?
It was
97?
the Edgar Renteria, wasn't it?
Somebody look that up. It's going to bug me.
Yeah, I'm blanking. But, while you guys are looking that up, I do want to say it is I completely agree because I feel like experience and champion.
Yeah, they beat the Indians.
Okay.
Yeah, but Marlins, it was the Renteria, but it was against the Indians.
And then we won 98, 99, 2000.
2000.
Lost 2001, lost 2003. That's what it was.
Yeah, and I think championship experience is so valuable because I think once you figure out how to get through and get there and break that seal and get make it to the World Series and win the World Series, it's almost like nobody can throw at you anything that's going to stop you. And I know this is different sports and it's completely different than baseball, but I'm looking at it with the Warriors right now. Today, I saw the Warriors play a Kings team that just going to be honest with you, is better than the Warriors. They have better players, top to bottom, than the Warriors do. But the Warriors have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. 3 guys that have won 4 championships together. And as long as you have those 3 guys, it doesn't seem like there's anything anyone can throw at those guys to beat them. And again, basketball is a different sport because there's only 5 people. And literally today, Steph Curry scored more points than anybody has ever in the history of basketball in a game 7. He just literally went, it's a close game. It's third quarter. I'm warmed up. Let's go. Ding, 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 ding. Like this. And so it's a little different because no matter how experienced you are, you only bat 1 time out of 9 people. You can only catch the balls that get fielded. Actually, it's different. But there is that element of championship experience where I think that's really what happened to the Braves in the 90s was they just couldn't break through other than that one time. And they just couldn't, it felt like they never got that. You never got that dynasty that everybody was hoping for.
Well, take the Astros. Take the Astros for like what they've done the last 5 years. It was either the Astros or the Yankees. It was going to be either one. The Astros beat them in 2017, and they had their because last year, who expected? I mean, The year they made it to the World Series with the Braves, who expected them to be there? Who expected them to be there last year? I mean, you expect them to be there, but like they didn't have that Carlos Correa. They didn't have they didn't have those guys anymore. And it was kind of
Springer,
like,
Cole.
yeah, it was kind of like, oh, well, those guys, they lost a lot of those guys. You lose Garrett Cole, you lose George Springer, you lose, Altuve's not what he was. You lose Correa, you lose those guys, and it's like, they're really not, but they've had that experience. They know what to do, and they know, like you said, they know what's going to be thrown at them. And like I said, in 2017, it was them or the Yankees. It was either one. And I fully believe that if we would have beat them, which we were the hotter team, and I don't want to talk about them cheating crap, but if we beat them, it's a different 5 years.
Yeah, we're in a
It
parallel
just
universe.
is. Yeah, it just.
Then the
But
Braves
I've
would
had
beat
to
the
struggle the
Yankees
last
in
5 years.
2021.
Maybe.
Do what?
The
The
Braves
Braves
would
would just beat the Yankees in 2021.
Nobody expected the Braves to be there. That was
I did, boy.
yeah, of course you did. And that was what I had the conversation the other day with Newsom. Newsom was like, "Do you expect him to win the champ? I expect him to win every year."
Yeah.
That's just that's just the misery of being a Yankees fan.
Yeah,
You expect them to be there every year, and I've been disappointed the last how many years since 2009?
14.
14. Yeah,
14.
it's been a
And
minute.
I think the Yankees will continue to lose in the playoffs if they continue down this road that they've been, where they just decide to. Now they've tried to get out of it a little bit and add some variety to their lineup, but I know 2 years ago at least, y'all just basically gave up on people who can hit sliders from righties. I mean, you just gave up on it. You just said we don't need anybody that has that. So if we face the Astros, who literally at the time their entire rotation was guys who were righties that threw hard and had great sliders. Their whole
McCullers
rotation. McCullers, Verlander, Cole.
28 sliders in a row or 28 curveballs or something in a row in that game. One of those games. It was like.
Yep. Yeah.
But
I think McCullers, his career has kind of gone down a little bit because at the time, his slider was not his primary pitch. But during that series with the Yankees, he apparently made it his primary pitch. And now his arm is in a million pieces every year. So
yeah, we've gotten it's gotten a little different because we've added some youth, which I love it. I love the Volpe and the Cabrera, the Cabreras. I love Harrison Bader. He's a firecracker.
Yeah,
and he's a good team guy. Anthony Rizzo's awesome. Judge is, of course, Judge. We got rid of the liability at catcher. Now we have a platinum glove winner. Jose Trevino's because you want defense back there. Our rotation has to, and we have to figure out why everybody keeps getting hurt. And it's not just the big guys. It's not just it's everybody. Like what is it? And I think there's something they've got to change some ownership. I think not ownership, but they've got to change some front office stuff. That's some different mentality. I mean, Cashman's been there too long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I have to say, I mean, while we're talking about this, I guess I'll just ask you guys, Max, I already know. I mean, I feel like your answers are just going to be Braves and Yankees, obviously, but I mean, maybe I'm the only unbiased person here because it ain't going to be the Red Sox. I can tell you that. But I mean, looking at the way the season has kind of unfolded so far, who's you guys' pick to win the World Series this year?
It's tough to say. I'm not going to pick the Braves just because, it's not my real pick. It'd be my bias pick, but it's tough to say the Rays because this is what they do, right? They've started hotter than normal, but this is what they do. You got to think that division's going to even out. That division's too deep.
We are very hurt right now too.
Yeah. Man, I want. San Diego Padres are your 2023 world champions.
Oh,
They get pitching at the deadline. Soto becomes Soto again. And
I like it, but here's the problem right now. Right now, their best hitter is Xander Bogaerts, statistically. If that is how it is after game 162, they're not winning the World Series.
right, it needs to be Machado or Soto.
It has to be Machado, Soto, Tatis, any of those guys. They've got to take the reins because, look, I love Xander. You guys know that I'm a Red Sox fan. I'm going to love him forever. He's won 3 championships with us. He's been an incredible player, great leader, great ambassador to the community. He's always been honest with everyone. I've never heard a bad word about Xander Bogaerts. I love him. But he was never the best hitter we had. Because if he was the best hitter we had, we'd have been in big trouble. And that's not to say he's a bad hitter. He's not. He's a great hitter. However, he's never hit 35 or more home runs. Only once has he had 100-plus RBIs. He's only once had a 900 OPS in his career. He doesn't steal a lot of bases. His on-base percentage has, I think, hovered around 340, which is not bad, but it's not fantastic. He doesn't walk a lot. He strikes out a lot. So if that's your best hitter, you're in trouble. So for me, I have to see, and look, I have Juan Soto on my fantasy team. Trust me, nobody wants Juan Soto to figure it the heck out more than me. But I've got to see Tatis, with a full year healthy or get back to being himself. I've got to see that rotation get figured out and stop getting hurt. I need to see, Juan Soto pick it back up. I need to see that lineup actually show the depth that it has. Because, look, Jake Cronenworth is a dog. He's one of my favorite players in baseball. You've obviously still got Juan Soto, Xander, Tatis. You've got that potential to be great, but they haven't put it all together yet. So I don't know at this point if I'm comfortable with. Now, could they win it? Oh, absolutely. They could get hot tomorrow and freaking ride it all the way to the World Series. They certainly could, but I don't know, man. I don't know about that yet.
Yeah, and they've got the rotation.
Yeah, Snell just needs to come back. That's why I said get pitching at the deadline. I think their offense is going to turn around, but they're almost in the same boat. It's like the names are on the squad. Their roster on paper looks like it should win a World Series. Snell's awful. Musgrove, Darvish needs to stay healthy.
I'm going with the Atlanta Braves.
Shut up, dude.
I swear. They're scary. They just are. I watched them play the other day and I was just like, it's crazy how much better y'all are right now than we are right now. And I know we're hurt. I'm just saying it's a different. They've gotten that taste.
Yeah.
And Acuna didn't get to participate, and he's upset about it. And I really do think they'll at least be there. But here's my thing about the Yankees, and I don't like talking a lot about the Yankees. They're pissing me off right now. But we did sign Carlos Rodon in the offseason, and he hadn't pitched yet.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett Cole's the best pitcher in baseball right now.
In baseball.
And he looks different. It's like he might be rubbing down his hand with alcohol. He might have found something that actually gotten a little stickier. It might have worked. He might have found something. He looks very, very sharp in his stuff. He's not giving up the home run. He's getting out. Even when he struggles, he's getting out of stuff, and he's making his pitches. I think our young guys will pick it up in the next month or so. You get Stanton back. You get Judge. Judge's little thing with his hip. He hurt it on that slide the other day. He scorpioned it, tweaked something. He's fine. You DFA Aaron Hicks when Bader comes back, and send him on a first class trip to the sun.
Oh,
dude. So you get Harrison Bader. You have Oswaldo Cabrera in left field. He's a good left fielder. Plays a little bit everywhere. Volpe's picking it up. I mean, Volpe's taking off. He's hitting the ball well. Steals a lot of bases. Got to figure the third base out because I don't think Josh Donaldson is it. Of course, I mean,
Yeah, and that could be a deadline.
It could be, and that could be a deadline thing. We've got a couple guys in the bullpen that are hurt. Tommy Canley's hurt. Loiza's hurt.
Still alive? My God, I feel like he's been on the Yankees for like 7 years.
Well, he went to the Dodgers, and then came back.
Oh, that's right. That's why. Okay, yeah, that's fair.
And Sevy does this every year. Sevy has he gets injured, then he comes out and has a decent, decent year. Rizzo's Rizzo. He's benefiting from the shift being banned. I mean, obviously. Mm-hmm. I just think that they're going to be bad is if they continue this and they get hot too late. Mm-hmm. They're 7 games out of first place right now, but it's first month of the season.
Yeah.
So I'm not pushing the panic button yet. The Nationals were 19-36 and ended up winning a World Series in 2019.
And the Braves, I think, were below 500
until August
games. Yeah, and they won. So it's not over yet. But I will say this, Max,
it's not fun by any means.
Yeah,
it's not fun at all. It's not.
For sure. Max, you might be surprised to hear this, but I am also picking the Atlanta Braves to win the World Series this year, and I'll tell you why.
Hop on the train.
I mean that they were definitely up there for my pick at the start of the year too. But for me, your rotation depth is what will get me because look, every team's going to deal with injuries. That's just a part of the game. But I think, quite frankly, even if catastrophe strikes the Braves and your top 3 or 4 guys all get hurt, your depth in your minors right now is insane. Right now, you've got Dylan Dodd, Mike Soroka, and I am completely and utterly blanking. Sorry?
Jared Schuster.
Thank you. I'm like, there's a third guy. I can't think of his name. All in your minors. They're not playing for you. And they're all major league ready guys. Mike Soroka was an all-star before he blew out his everything. So if he comes back even 2/3, twice, yeah, exactly. So if he comes back to even 2/3 of the pitcher he was, and instead of him having a 2.8 ERA, he's got a 3.8 ERA, and he's just serviceable, and he's just a good number 5 or a number 4. Like, you're talking about, even if catastrophe strikes, you lose Fried, you lose Morton, your rotation depth will keep you afloat unless those guys just blow out their arms and they're not able to come back, which in that case, you might not necessarily be the favorites anymore because your rotation won't be as good as other rotations in the National League on paper. But for me, I just think you guys are covered even through injury, which for me makes you guys a safer bet than any of the other teams in the National League at this point, or really in the American League. I mean, the Astros don't seem to be what they were. But anyways, we're running out of time here, guys.
Hope you boys are right.
Thank you so very much for doing this. This was an absolute freaking blast. I am going to be miserable at work tomorrow, but it is fine and it's worth it.
It's worth it.
Thank you guys so much for joining the podcast.
Yeah.
We're going to do this again very soon. I promise you.
I love it.
We need to do an update like at the end of next month. We'll do an update to see how our teams are doing. So
yeah,
there you go.
Fair enough.
Lubsy, we appreciate you. This was a blast for Burke. I love you. It's always fun.
Love you guys.
Love you guys too. All right, you guys have a great night.